2, and we're going. Sweet, man. Oh, why don't we start with just like, why don't you introduce yourself and tell everybody what you do for a living?
Hmm. My name is Mike.
Drink.
Well, yeah, my name is Mike Lloyd, and I work in reality television and the documentary world as a camera operator, DP. I've been living here in Austin for about 6 years. I went to Oklahoma, got my broadcast degree, and moved from Oklahoma City after living there a couple years, and yeah, just been chilling here, and ran into Adam at Star Bar back when he was holding it down over there. He's a
Yeah, back
great
in my
bartender, by the way, very
yeah,
hospitable, and but
I'll get you.
yeah, just been kicking it in Austin for almost a decade. I mean, yeah, I'm enjoying
That's,
it.
that's
So,
great, man. Can you tell the audience what DP means as far as your job title goes?
could you repeat that? I was having some audio issues on my
Yeah,
end.
I was just asking. Do you mind telling like the audience what DP stands for?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's not double penetration. It's director of photography. So you just basically call all the shots and set up camera blocking and light things a certain way. And sometimes you're making some directorial decisions, but yeah, that's what it means. So get your mind out of the gutter.
Yeah.
So yeah.
How did you like what's the first step in like getting a job in the film industry? Like who do you reach out to? How do you know who to like contact? Did you have like friends? Does school like set you up with like
Yeah,
and then who's the
Yeah, well, it's interesting, man. So my very first gig out of school, I didn't really know anyone, and like in Oklahoma City, it was just right out of school. You basically put your feelers out for internships, and um, you basically just surround yourself with a bunch of freelancers, and hopefully you build like a decent reputation at being a good hard worker. So I started off as a production assistant, and really the only thing is uh, that I learned in the industry, yeah, you have to know your stuff, but being in like the most important thing is just being likable on set, because days just get long. And when you're unpleasant, and when people see that the day kind of wears on you and you're just kind of short with people, it makes for an unpleasant working environment. So just being a pleasant person, and not being like a total like jester, but just overall just being like a nice person and
yeah,
pleasant to work with. So
yeah, be
and
that
and
person.
you build the reputation from that, and then so when you start in the industry, like everybody starts in like production as their first department, and so early on you got to niche yourself into like art, directing, camera. I ended up being the camera guy, and then grip and lighting, that's more film world, but yeah, I ended up in camera department. So
What's the next step, man? What's like I'm sure you're satisfied as of right this instant, but like is there like a okay, camera guy for now, but eventually directing or like eventually, you know, I don't know,
yeah,
acting.
well, yeah. So it's I really just kind of fly by the seat of my pants. I really don't have like an end goal in mind other than just keep on elevating. So this is my first job. I'm director of photography of this Motor Trend show called the Iron Resurrection, and we're filming our fifth season out at Martin Brothers Customs in Johnson City, and it's my first official title as director of photography, and so I'm pretty excited about that. But before that, it was just kind of working your way up the ladder, just from being a just production assistant to camera assistant, and then camera operator, and then director of photography. So I don't know. I'm digging the DP gig right now. So let's see if I can land any more of those gigs and go from there. And
Yeah, that's great,
so
man. Yeah, it's tough in the film industry because there's no like end time. I just wanted to go back to like what we were talking about before, these long days. There's no like, all right, we're starting at this time. There's definitely start times. Lost my mic. Definitely
yeah,
start times, but absolutely no end times. Like it's until you get it,
yeah,
until you get the shot, or until you get
right,
the product that you're looking for. And then of course
yeah,
that goes into editing and so on and so forth. But um, I think that's something that people don't think about as far as like, oh, I want to get into the film industry or I want to get into the entertainment industry of
oh yeah,
there's no end times. Like it can destroy a family. Has it ever like has
yeah,
it ever affected your relationships, whether personal like a or a family unit?
yeah. Yeah, and I don't say this gleefully, but yeah, it's it's affected some,
Yeah,
like romantic relationships and even like just missing birthdays and all that. But yeah, it's typical days are like like 10 to 12 hours, and thankfully on the show I'm currently on, we know what we need to get and we're in and out, and so leave the door to leave my place at like 7:30, get back at 6. So I'm very fortunate for that, and that's been going for like 3 days a week. But yeah, it's and that's kind of like the double-edged sword with Texas, is that it's a right to work state, and there's not too many unions. I mean, there are some unions, but I feel like independent productions can kind of get away with bending the rules of like you know not paying overtime past 12 hours or something
yeah,
like that. And yeah, and then sometimes you end up bringing that work home with you, and you're just like tuckered out from set life and all that stuff. And then the other thing is trying to get your your counterpart to understand, like, well, this is where the work's taken me. I can't just choose to stay in town.
yeah,
And I think that's probably the toughest part, is just getting them to wrap their head around like what set life is like and all that stuff. But overall, you know jumping from project to project, you have your little family, your friends group, and you end up being like really good friends with all these people, especially if they're in the same rotation and click. It gets a little clicky in
yeah,
Austin, just like anywhere else, But everyone's got their own people, but it's still fun, as long as you enjoy the people that you work with. It's a yeah, it's a pretty awesome environment.
yeah, man. Do you get excited whenever you like walk on to new projects and like, oh shit, Ted's here? That's awesome. I love working with Ted. Like this is
Yeah,
which I'm sure that's how you landed more gigs. Like, oh shit, Mike's here. That's great. Like this is I
yeah,
like working with this guy. He's very pleasant to be around for 12 hours.
yeah. So normally, like when you get a call sheet, that's the call sheet of like everyone's department and their call time. It's like the day before, depending on what kind of project it is. Like everyone gets so nervous, like working on a high budget commercial, because like, nobody receives a call sheet until like midnight or like 6 hours before call time. And it's like, oh man, I just wasted 3 hours of sleeping, waiting for this damn thing. But yeah, it puts you at ease when start to recognize people on the call sheet, and that like puts that kind of eases the tension of like some of what the day is going to be like, because it's going to be stressful, but you at least you have this person to kind of lean on at some point in the day, so that does help.
Yeah. What's the biggest like misconception in your job? Like, do you have people say, "Oh, that must be so cool because you get to you meet actors," or that must be so cool because you're probably in cahoots with Spielberg or something like that. Is there like a comment, like something that comes up all the time of like, oh, that must be so cool? I know when I was bartending, people would often say like, oh, cool, man, you must be getting laid left and right. Like you're probably meeting chicks all the time. And I'm like, yeah, but I get out of here at like 5 a.m. So everybody's asleep. Sure, I can make the connections, but rarely do I land the dismount on like, oh, cool, you're probably hooking up with everybody.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, that's kind of like an easy, talking point. Oh, I shoot reality television, and the common denominator is like some gal's trashy show that I might have worked on or something like that. Not to say like anything that I worked on was trashy. It has my name on it.
sure, yeah,
I've had a lot of I've had a lot of fun on everything I worked on, and but I guess like the biggest misconception, is just like I said before, just trying to get people to understand like how much at least on our end is like the labor part. It pretty much is blue collar work. And uh I right before we did this podcast, I went to the chiropractor for the first time like ever. And that my back's a little all fucked up, um yeah, it's I mean, in the end, you're not really. That's why I like all the BTS stuff, like on those DVDs, and you see like what goes into it.
yeah,
And I think it's just like the time that people don't understand, but also like maybe some personalities, trying to maybe explain to some people like some personalities aren't what they seem to be, like behind the
sure,
camera. But actually everyone's been nice that I've worked with on every project, so it's been
yeah.
fantastic. But if I think of any other anomalies, I'll let you know. But
All right. Fair enough. Did you work? You also worked on like my 600-pound life. Did you? I wanted to talk
mhm.
about that for a little bit. Was
Oh
there like a?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So man, I started off as a footage runner for that show. And right when it was like, gaining momentum, like in 2015, it's
yeah,
when I started like still a production assistant. And, they were, the network was just like, was in high demand of these episodes. And so I was going to Houston from Austin and then coming back. At like 10 in the night, 10 at night, coming back 2 in the morning just to, drop footage off. And that's how busy we were. So I'd get to Houston, call up my buddy from high school, my buddy Taylor, who's on the golf team and from high school. And like, we'd eat like 10 pounds of crawfish. And then like, and then I'd pick up the footage and then hightail it back to Austin. And then eventually I became a camera operator. And, spending time with these people, it's definitely an experience.
yeah. I bet. I bet.
Going into the homes. Everyone's been really nice. You get some characters now and then. I don't want to have, I really don't have any. I don't want to speak ill of anyone, but um, it's also like shocking, like in the way of like how some people really like live, and like some of the family dynamics that go into it. And like, and then like when you kind of become close to these people that you spend time with, they unfortunately pass away. And that's
Yeah,
like, no pun intended, that gets heavy.
sure. But
Come on, man, why are you laughing? That's not
oh,
funny.
yeah, yeah. I got a sick, twisted sense of humor, I guess. Yeah, man. I at a certain point in my life, I was like doing door-to-door sales, and I would go into people's homes, and that's something that
You'd be very good at that, actually. You yeah. Yeah, you are. I mean,
yeah,
especially if you dressed up in that tux that you have on your Gmail account, man, like going door to door looking like that. That'd be kick ass, dude.
come right in. Yeah, come right in, Mr. Dapper salesman, sir. Yeah, but it was like, I don't know, you would walk in and see like, I don't know, dog food on the coffee table and you're like, okay. I mean, sure. I wasn't expecting that, but you got to kind of like get back into that mode of like, I'm here to do something. All right, I can't talk about
Right, yeah, yeah, and you know, these people are these cast members are nice enough for them to, you know, it would take a lot for me to let people into my, you know, abode and, you know, let them charge batteries and let the audio guy like record sound like on the pot, you
yeah,
know, like it's, you know, just so he can stay out of the shot, you know. And you're just like they're probably thinking to myself, damn, like my, you know, I didn't even like clean the toilet bowl or, you
yeah,
know, like dust off the fan blades, you know, they're gonna think like I'm some sort of slob. And
sure.
so I don't know, but yeah,
Yeah. Some of
um,
these people are like bedridden too. Like they couldn't even, they're not able to be very mobile. So I'm sure the state of
yeah,
cleanliness is like a second thought as opposed to, I got a whole camera crew coming in today, so I better
right, yeah, and I mean, like, you know, these caretakers, you know, God bless them, you know, for these people. Unfortunately, you know, to a point, you know, they do enable these patients, you know, that get that way, but it becomes like a 24, like it becomes like a job um, that just revolves around the clock. And so, yeah, that's the last thing on their minds, whether or not something is, you know, clean or dirty. You know,
yeah. Yeah,
they got to worry. They got to worry about their husband's alcohol bath on his cellulitis, and
yeah,
or the wife. You know, it could be the wife. You know, but
sure.
yeah. So either or, it gets pretty heavy. And like the most I guess like shocking thing was like the certain sense that you know, you could pick up like from some of these patients, but you know that's just how it goes. You know, if you're bedridden and you know, some things just aren't like the most hygienic situations.
Yeah.
What can I? But, but
Yeah, did you ever create, relationships with these people? Like, after, I mean,
like
it takes a
romantic
while.
relationships.
No, no, not romantic relationships. I just mean, like I just mean, like, um, you start to learn their hobbies and, like, favorite foods, or, like,
Yeah,
a lot of these, I
yeah,
wanna say maybe addictions or, addictive personalities come from, like, childhood trauma or sexual abuse or something like that. So you kinda get to know these people. So I was just curious if you ever had, like, "Oh, man, I wanna check on so and so that we filmed for 2 weeks in their house, and they, had, X, Y, and Z going
mhm,
on." Do you ever
yeah.
think about, like, these
Well,
people?
one of my biggest yeah, like one of my biggest regrets was, you know, not, you know, not doing that was, you know, just like, um, you kind of want to maintain that, like, where that's another thing is like, how do you like maintain like the professionalism, you know, with like, you know, getting to know these people and then, you know, developing like a soft spot. And and, you know, that's always been kind of you know, challenging in a way for me to like go about that because like they, you know, they are nice people and some of them like they are more relatable than some of the others. For instance, we had a cast member named LB Bonner who's from South Carolina, and he was just like funny as hell. He lost his leg in a four-wheeler accident, and so he would just like kind of have this self-deprecating humor that was just like pretty charismatic about himself. But and I guess like the one thing that about the, you know, people that go through depression is like you never really know, you know,
Yeah,
how deep it is. And he was severely depressed, and like there was man, I think it was in People magazine or something like that, that had like a recorded phone call, like his last phone call with 911, saying like he was in a bad place. and then like he eventually committed suicide somewhere back home in like South Carolina. And
Man,
you know what? Like I spent a lot of time with that guy, like in 2017, just filming season 6. And you know, I kind of wish like I did, you know, checked up on, you know, him, and you know, in particular, I kind of wish I checked up on a lot of those patients, you know. But it it does become challenging though, because like where, you know, those lines probably get blurred like really easy, and like
yeah, you're there to
so
do a job and you can't help but like think about this. It becomes an afterthought because you're there to like, all right, my job is to clock in to
right,
you know, take care of these, you know, 6 or 7 things. And in the meantime, you're developing this
mhm,
relationship, not knowing that. And then, like you were saying with LB, you know, a couple of years pass and you're like, oh shit, man, I should have reached out to him. But I mean,
yeah,
you're juggling so many pins that it's hard to, it becomes an afterthought. It's hard to like
yeah,
stay cognizant. If you guys were just hanging out all the time, there's no doubt in my mind, like you would keep up with, you know,
hmm,
with LB or
right,
check in every once in a while. But yeah, it's usually after the fact that you're like, whoa, what? That's crazy,
yeah.
man. And
Yeah, no, yeah, it really is nuts. And yeah, and that whole eerie thing is you know, when you're in the doctor's office, and you know, we're just, you know, with Doctor Now, just hanging out with him. You know, super nice guy, by the way.
yeah,
He and very, very busy too. Like I don't know how that man does it, but he you know, we watched that last we filmed the last doctor's appointment with him and LB, and it was kind of it was him like arguing with Doctor Now why he needs to go back to South Carolina, and Doctor Now like telling him, I think that's a terrible idea. You should stay in Houston, you know, where you could get away from all the things that it already enabled you and all that stuff. And so, but anyways, yeah, that was kind of
that's
eerie thinking back on that doctor's appointment, you know, watching that final, you know, and, you know, LB just kind of stating his case, saying why it would be good for him to help his dad, you know, back in South Carolina with him being so old, and like, you know, helping him out with his tile company. It was, yeah, kind of eerie,
yeah,
but
man. Yeah. One of the most fascinating things to me outside of like reality television or addictions for that matter or personal thing is arguing with the doctor like when somebody that's clearly like went to school has a degree built a profession around it is like you know yeah
yeah,
sure sugar causes cancer but this ice cream is pretty tasty. I don't know if you know this or
yeah,
not but I need it you know
yeah, yeah,
or whatever the case may be. I
yeah,
I find that the most fascinating out of like the whole thing in that show is when someone argues with the doctor, I'm like, oh, this is nice. Like I just want to sit back and listen to this, not to make
yeah,
like a funny situation out of a morbid one, but
yeah.
that's all
But I
I
mean,
always
like,
find that good.
right, and it like just kind of demonstrates the patience of the doctor too, you know, because like time and, you know, that's just not, you know, that's not the only patient that he sees that day. Like,
Yeah,
you know, doing that, you know,
yeah,
it could be like 3 or 5 in a row, you know, and that would wear me so thin.
oh
That would wear me so thin. And then like, you know, it's just like I you got to give the man credit. He's, you know, probably one of the most patient people I've ever met, you know,
yeah.
especially with us, the camera crew. So thank you, Dr. Now, for bearing with us. So
Why does he have to be patient with you? Are you like, oh, could you say that again? I didn't get that. Or like, oh, could you say that again? The camera wasn't rolling. Or can you pretend like you were walking in the room again? I want to get this shot.
well,
Well,
I mean, a camera crew in your doctor's practice, you know, it's doctor, you know, like I don't need to say any more, you know,
sure. Yeah, I get it.
my
Yeah.
quarters, you know, some it's like, get out of here, buzz off. So
Yeah, leave me alone. I'm
yeah,
literally trying to save someone's life right now, and you're cramming a
yeah,
camera in my face and a boom
yeah,
mic.
precisely.
Oh man, that's great. Let's see. Was there ever any like confidentiality issues? This is probably the last. Well, we can move on from this, but as far as like sneaking food, I know that that was like a common occurrence. People sneaking food into my 600-pound life, like people that were battling with obesity, and their partners would sneak in food. And like
Yeah,
Dr.
the
would be like, "How are you gaining weight? Like, how are you? You're not in,
yeah,
hometown eating cheeseburgers. You're in this hospital on a very strict diet. How are you? You should be losing
yeah,
weight."
yeah. So I think um like in a lot of those instances, that may have been the case. Yeah, I remember. Oh, who was it? I think it was James King, who recently passed away. Another great dude. Like Doctor Now, I think it's all on the show. If not, I hope I'm not violating any NDA or anything like that. But I mean, yeah, it's yeah, I mean, this person James would be, I think, like when he got to Houston, he gained like a substantial amount of weight. Like he ended up being in excess of 800 pounds, like from his original like 700. And I think that was the case with his counterpart. Was like, yeah, it happens all the time,
Sure.
unfortunately. And it's like, and you have to wonder, like, how could it happen, when this person's just bedbound? And what do they have over you? What do they have like hanging over your head to like um to get you to feed them that food? But I think
Yeah.
it could be like a thing where they might get incentives from the government. It might be a disability thing.
Sure.
Maybe like an extra income thing. I don't know, but yeah, it was a problem, but nonetheless very entertaining to see the doc's reaction during those firework moments, like at the doctor's office. So,
Sure.
and then there'd be people like in after gastric um, that would like they wouldn't be losing the weight that they should, and so I remember this one cast member. His name is Lee, super nice guy, but he had a problem with eating chili dogs after his gastric bypass, and he wasn't losing the weight he should have been
Yeah.
losing. And I think it like came down to the point where like Lee said something like, "Well, I don't want to be malnourished," and Doctor Now goes, "Do you really think you're malnourished?"
How much
So
nutrients
it's
in a chili dog? Like, well, if you put the
yeah,
Fritos, I use
yeah,
mustard and relish. Get my vegetables right
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Uh,
You got your food fruits, you got your corn, you got your relish. But yeah, man. But nonetheless, these stubborn behaviors, they kept us employed. So
sure.
yeah,
Yeah. Entertaining at the very least.
yeah.
Well, let's jump out of like morbid obesity and mortality rates
Well,
being
well,
down. So let's tell me about.
well.
Go ahead.
I think morbid obesity might, be the theme of this podcast because, the reason why I'm here is because of, what occurred outside of my 600-pound life. So,
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Some, some yin yang for you right there. Like a
yeah.
little heavy. Uh, I don't know,
Well,
heavy
yeah.
life stuff. When then some positivity comes out of it. That's what I was trying to get out there.
Well,
What's
I
like
was just
hard?
trying to.
Good.
What's up? No, go ahead.
I was gonna ask you, what's like the hardest that you've ever laughed at work? Like, is there ever a situation where you were just like, I can't keep it together, like tears rolling out of my eyes because
Well, I've had like instances where some directors, when they're watching the footage, they'll like at some comedic moment, they'll notice that like the camera starts bouncing on my shoulder a little bit, and they can hear my laughter like through the shotgun mic,
Yeah.
and that kind of sucks because you know I mean, it doesn't really suck, I guess, but I mean, like it could have been like don't want to compromise my shooting or anything, but like I think man, on Iron Resurrection, we got this at Martin Brothers Customs. Joe Martin's like the head fabricator, and he's a super cool dude. And he actually moved from Dallas down to Hill Country like in 2014, and he brought like his entire, like his buddy Mike Z and his entire operation down to Hill Country to hang and do business. And so when we started filming, I got introduced to their friend Pampa, who comes around and helps out. I think he works in Houston now, but Pampa, just to give you an idea, he's got a lot of soul um, for a like a short little Mexican dude who's just like the most charismatic dude like you've ever
Yeah.
met. But he he gets a little skittish, and so when he comes in and hangs out, we like to prank him with like putting a like rubber snake in a trash can, or like just lighting fireworks um behind him.
Yeah.
That's always kind of fun. Um, but usually all the laughter has been on on that show with those guys, and it's been pretty fun. But man, I'm trying to think. Um,
That's pretty good,
I've got
man. Yeah. I was just trying to squeeze a silly story out of you. Is there
uh,
anything, is there anything that you've learned like in this profession? Like, oh man, I got a life lesson out of this. I didn't even wasn't even expecting that, but I carry myself differently now because of something that my job's taught me. Is there anything?
yeah, I think just echoing what I said earlier, it's just being pretty much like you could be the most competent person, but being the most likable goes a very long way. And it just and I still try my best. I'm not liked by everyone, I don't think, even though that would be kind of nice, but
It's hard to
I
do. Yeah.
yeah, it really is. But um man, I think that's one of the main things, is just being really
Yeah.
kind. And I mean, it's so cliche to say, but it's so damn true, because
I
like I I find myself being a dick a lot. So, and it comes back to bite me on some gigs, but
yeah,
overall, yeah, that is the golden rule. It applies to everything.
for sure, man. Was there ever a time in your life where you felt like you needed some advice, where you're just like, fuck, I just need to talk to somebody about this thing? And it doesn't have to do with like film or anything like that. Just and if you don't feel like answering that, that's fine also. I've got
Hmm. Man, I don't know. Me and my dad talk about a lot of shit.
yeah,
Um, yeah, he's kind of like my go-to,
that's
and
always good. Yeah, no matter who it is, it's always good to have that person to like, you know,
yeah,
spike that tennis ball to of like, huh, here's this, and have it come right back with the
yeah,
same gusto of like, you got to just get out there, man. Like you got to just, or whatever the case may be. Like, hey, chin up, man. It's gonna,
uh-huh,
sunny days are on the way.
yeah, yeah. Man, I got nothing specific at the moment.
Yeah, that's all, man. That's
But
all. Do you
yeah,
this is a silly question. It's not really related to anything. Do you believe in ghosts?
dude, are you referring to that? Hey, wait a minute. So, are you referring to that? Well, I don't know if it's like viral yet, but I had a friend. So the producer on our show's got a friend that lives in Baltimore, and she saw like essentially what looked like a hologram on her Ring camera at like 1:30 in the morning. Are
Yeah.
you wouldn't have to be referring to something like that, do you?
Just hey, just like whatever. Some people are really adamant of like, oh, I saw Grandpa. He came down the stairs. It happens every Thanksgiving, 4 a.m. I'm
Yeah,
the only one to see him. Or I had a surgery and I woke up and I walked around the room and then jumped back in my body. Or some people are like, yeah, no, nothing. I got nothing. Never had
yeah,
any experience whatsoever. It's usually just a fun question to like, yeah,
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
have you? I mean, have you?
Yeah, so for me, I don't doubt. I don't think that I'm so like high and mighty of like, yeah, no, there's nothing out there. I'll be the first one to say it. Nothing going on. But I've never had a personal experience where I'm like, and then grandma was there and she, like, she
Yeah.
gave me a piece of pie and I don't know. There was I did have a medium on the show and
Hmm.
she told me some really specific shit about my grand granddad that like passed away. And she
Hmm.
got like very uh super accurate. Like it was straight, like it made me like gave me a sinky feeling in my stomach, like, oh shit, that's right. But anyways, other than that, I've never had like a ghost or like
Yeah.
the clock changes on its own every
Yeah.
2 years.
So like when I stepped out of the shower the other day, like I saw like my granddad wrote a message on the mirror when the fog came up. Hey,
Yeah,
I love you, grandson. I was like, whoa, it's my granddad. We
don't
really
forget.
miss you right now, Dad.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
don't forget to floss. You're
but
like, oh, solid
yeah,
advice.
yeah, yeah,
Good, cool. I won't
something
forget
like
that
that.
today.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Man, I'm thirsty, dude. Do you need a would you like a Dixie? I never see these things in Central Market or any grocery store in Texas.
Yeah,
So it's a definitely a New Orleans staple right here, and it was the cheapest thing on the shelf. And I guess everyone thought it might have been like non-alcoholic because I mean it's kind
yeah,
of got that label,
yeah.
like
It looks like
Texas
a product.
Select.
Uh-huh. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love there's always a place in the repertoire for a cheap beer for me. I will never shy away from a Dixie or a Lone Star or Paps for
Mm,
that matter. Um
yeah.
well, cool, man, we're getting close to like wrapping it up. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to like get off your chest? If not, that's fine. We can go right back to it. Or do you feel
Um,
satiated?
man,
Or
man,
PSA? You kind of covered it with the like, just be a pleasant person, man. It's gonna come back around.
yeah, yeah. Isn't there a shit story I'm supposed to tell?
That's the next part.
Like,
Is yeah, if you've ever
oh,
pooped
okay,
your pants
all
or
right, yeah.
something related.
I'm gonna have to re up on this right quick before I get
Yeah,
into that. So
yeah.
I'll be right back.
Take your time, man. I can filibust. This is a good time to talk about our good friends at houndstoothcbdco.com, the official sponsor of my shitty podcast. Houndstoothcbdco.com is an herbal supplement. Uh, why not try and help your sweet pup in their time of need, especially if they're elderly or have anxiety? Houndstoothcbdco.com is the only CBD supplement that is third party certified. So you actually see that the amount of CBD that's in the treat is actually there. Visit houndstoothcbdco.com and support a small local business. I lost my microphone. Whew.
Right arm. Here, dude. what are you sipping on? I mean, can you have drinks around all that expensive condenser mic action?
Man, I'm gonna go for a run after this really lame answer, but I'm just drinking water right now.
No, that's okay. I mean, what can you do right now? All of New Mexico is like pretty much shut down right now, right?
Yeah, we're in major
Yeah,
lockdown, right? So all I can do is
yeah,
worry about my health. Just go for it. And
yeah.
it's like in frigid. It's like 50 degrees today, and that's like
Mhm.
my favorite running temperature. So winter's coming, holiday wait's coming. I just got to try and yeah, I don't know, get out there and nip it in the bud. Try and be proactive
Yeah.
about holiday calories. Speaking
Hell
of
yeah.
big
Hell yeah.
big
Are you are
show,
you
so go ahead.
are you gonna have to wear a mask when you run? Are they mandating that shit over there?
I live like tucked away in the mountains, so there's no mask. I just fucking
Oh,
if I see
okay.
somebody, I'll run faster, like "Ah!"
Yeah.
So there is like a statewide mandate though. Like when you drive in, it's like wear a fucking mask, wear one.
Yeah.
And it's all over like storefronts, like gotta have one on. So I'm not
Yeah.
gonna wear one when I run. I've got enough
Yeah.
altitude training high enough up in the mountains, so I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. Thank God. I would hate to run in town like with a mask though. That sounds like my worst nightmare. I see people doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. So my mom got a place in Breckenridge not too long ago, and we were kind of hanging out up there. And that whole town up there is like, you have to wear a mask while in town. And some people will do the whole mask while running. I don't know how they were doing it, man. When I got to town, like the first day, I don't think you should ever go to a high altitude place if you're, especially the night after, you're drinking, because like you will like immediately feel out of breath and the headache, you just feel like all the liquid just kind of evaporate out of your system. And I was
Yeah,
not feeling very good the first time I went to Breckenridge. And so I was walking up this hill with this mask and, just feeling all lightheaded. I mean, I just don't recommend it, man. You got to drink like a gallon of water before going to these mountain towns. So,
yeah,
so more
yeah.
power to you, dude. You running in those high altitudes, man. So,
Yeah, I can't wait to go to a lower altitude and just kick everybody's ass because it's certainly like I feel it, man. I'm slower here. I could my running times between running time I used to do in Austin and the running time here is just like my average mile a minute is like 2 minutes slower. Like no joke.
yeah.
It's
And that's without swamp ass. So there you go. So
oh man.
yeah,
Well,
swamp ass changes the aerodynamics on any run. So
it just
just
makes you yeah, lubricates the legs. It helps like kind of get you going. That's a great segue into a poop story. Do you have a poop story? Have you ever pooped your pants or have um
man,
a story where maybe a cast member has come close or somebody
man.
on the
I have
friend?
a close call every week. It seems like
Yeah.
I like just about every week. I get to the point where like I do like carry an extra pair of which is why I wanted to ask, why don't you have an underwear sponsor for your show, man? Because like I I keep Tommy John, an extra pair of Tommy John underwear like in my backpack just in case like shit hits the
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, it seems like so. I mean, the other day I almost did it. So like at Iron Resurrection, we have this thing called C4. That pre-workout stuff.
Yeah.
The C4 Rip Sport. It's like the upper crust of pre-workout, if you will. And man, we call it's got a nickname. It's called Pinky Drink. And so when we hit the pinky, everybody feels jacked up, ready to work. And
Yeah.
like the crew is in a better mood. I'm in a better mood, but I hear it's not all that great for you. And it doesn't really gel well with like if you take it immediately after lunch, like it just flushes you out. And I almost had a close call with that while like I was squatting down getting a shot underneath the lift of this build. And, upon getting up, I just had this bubble that I was just like, whoa. And, I had the camera on my back, camera almost fell out. So
Yeah.
I just had, just hold it tight right there. But that's not my story. That's a very lame story. But the most notable one I could think of um, was in Houston while we were filming season 6 of My 600-Pound Life. Um, so we stay like they put us up in downtown. So like, and there's like 3 or 4 crews at a hotel at a time, and it could be very fun because you're, you know, you're mingling with the other crew, just hanging out, partying, talking about your day or whatever. And right after getting ramen at a spot in Midtown, we go to this bar in Montrose. It's a pretty popular bar. Um, some, like some bands played there, I guess, in the
Yeah.
90s, whatever. Anyways, it's called Numbers. And so we go to Numbers and it's 80s night, and we're hanging out, and in excess, Gary Newman is just blasting "Here in my car," and we're
Yeah.
dancing and all that. And so like Numbers is kind of like a strange, it's got like a weird setup. I mean, I guess like a typical club setup, just a big spacious dance floor, with bars on either side. But then it had like an upstairs, like a little more secluded bar, and some windows where you can like look down and see everybody dancing. So my buddy Dave and I, we're going up, and we're it's just us two and these group of girls. And I'm talking to Dave, and I feel like someone, what do you call it when somebody's behind you and they like punch your like knee to kind of like unbuckle your knee or something. Anyways, one of
Yeah.
these gals like starts being kind of flirty, and she's with her coworkers and all that stuff. And so we hit it off, and we're going downstairs, we're dancing, and then like things started to get a little hot and heavy. And so we're like, well, we had fun here, dancing to the Smiths and sweating all over each other, whatever. Let's go to a different bar and get another drink. And so we did. And then eventually just bounced to her place.
Yeah.
And so we're hanging out, and we eventually, we're on the couch, and one thing leads to another.
Sure.
And it ended up being a pretty long night. And by this time, it's like 3 a.m, and I'm still over at her place, and I'm like, man, I just got to take a dump. And so I go to her restroom, and it's like, in her house, mind you, it's like she's getting she separating from her husband. So it's like I'm in this like I don't even know if they're like completely separated yet. So I'm like in this house. I'm kind of like sketched out,
Yeah.
and I kind of feel ashamed. So my plan is to just like, because it's 3, I have a call time like pretty early, like in 5 hours. So I have to like just, take a dump and then get an Uber back to the hotel so I can make this call time. So anyways, I'm there in this sweet master bed. This is like a contemporary house, mind you, like built in the 80s. So it's pretty slick. And so I'm in like the master, and man, I just, I'm hugging the porcelain with my cheeks and just let this thing go. And I go to flush, and it is not going down.
Oh
It,
no.
it, it is not going down. And like, I'm still kind of drunk. And so I'm like, just looking, and it's not like, the water is like halfway to the bowl from the top of the bowl where it is. And for some reason I thought it'd be a good idea to just flush it again and see what happens.
Yeah, yeah, that's the
And
dice.
yeah, that fixes everything, right? and and so I flushed it again, and then it starts coming over the top, and I'm like, oh my god, like no, 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 don't do this, not right now. And like I'm in my bare feet and I'm stepping in this turd water, and like it is getting like now it's like looking like a river rapid. Now it's like coming out of the toilet and just like seeping out of the bathroom door. And I start taking every single towel that she had out of her cabinet to just like pile it up. But I was a little late of not catching it to the stairs, and so it starts going down the stairs. And I'm freaking out. She's passed out. I'm just like screaming, like, oh, just all these expletives. And I'm looking for a plunger now, and
Yeah,
I don't see a plunger anywhere. And I'm like, well, I mean, this woman has not had to take a shit in her life. There's not like a plunger anywhere here. Like, and so I go downstairs and I'm hauling it. I fall down the stairs. Like I hit my side because like the wood floors, like, it's just wet with this turd water. And now it's pouring. It is coming down. And now I'm in the cabinets and I'm looking up everywhere. And then I'm in the kitchen and there's water coming through the ceiling and dripping down onto the pots and pans in the kitchen. I'm like, oh my God. And yeah, I just like, I am watching this like right before my eyes, this beautiful home get destroyed by the dump I took at 3 a.m. And it's all like coming down. It's like the walls were made of sugar or something, because it was just like I don't know, like it seemed like my whole world was crashing right in front of me. So I eventually, like, me being so inebriated, just I woke her up. I'm like, hey, wake up. hey, we got a problem. And she's like, what's the big deal? I'm like, hey, just tell me where a plunger is, please. And she's like, well, the closest one is like downstairs in the guest bathroom. Well, just where is it? Where is it? I need it. Yeah. And so I go downstairs and I slip again. I had a couple of bruises on my ribs, and I get this plunger, and I'm making so much noise, like trying to get this thing out. And all I hear is just like, how big of a shit did you take? And she's just like, she looks haggard now, like her hair's everywhere. And like, she sees all of her like bathroom linens just on the floor.
yeah,
And I'm like, I'm sorry.
yeah.
I don't know what to do now. And she's like, well, you could have just turned the water off behind the toilet. And I'm like, you know what? I should have, but I just didn't even think to do that.
Yeah,
And
yeah, sorry, I'm not a master plumber, but that's fantastic. Like, really good
yeah,
advice. Go moving forward. I didn't think of that. I've never thought of that. I've heard so many poop
I
stories.
I was so embarrassed, and she was just like, well, I guess just clean it up, and I'll see you later.
What a
And I'm
sweet person.
like, that's all you're gonna say? Oh my God, you're up for sainthood right now. Like
Yeah,
I totally like just utterly punished like everything in your house. And so I went downstairs, and like, of course, like after she did that, like I don't even think like she saw how bad it was, because like there were just like little chunks just like on the floor and just like everywhere. And I was really, really ashamed. And so I got the 409 out of her um, kitchen sink, and it was a full bottle of 409 too. And I used the entire thing like in an hour. I just used
that's it.
like washcloth and towel. Like I sanitized the Keurig machine. I sanitized like the other espresso machine that it got all over the like the counters and the pots and pans. I took off like all the grill. You know, she had a gas
Oh,
grill, so I took off like all the you know, whatever whole, you know, separates the flame and the pots and pans, you know, and I sterilized all that. And by the time like I used up all the linens, like the trash bag weighed 70 pounds because of like all the water, like all the linens and the water it absorbed.
yeah, it
And
becomes a prison workout where they're lifting like milk jugs of water. Like
yeah,
it's
yeah. And my
pretty,
dumb ass was like, "Hey, you want me to wash these?" And she's like, "No, just get the fuck out."
yeah,
I'm like, "Okay." So I called an Uber, and like it was the heaviest trash bag I've ever taken to the trash. I couldn't even get it in like the first time around. Like I had to give it the old heave ho.
yeah,
And in fact, I laid the trash can down and then rolled the trash bag into like the can and then set it up right. And
yeah.
yeah, oh my gosh, it was so embarrassing, dude. And
Well,
it
I don't
was
know.
so.
Yeah, speaking of up for sainthood, like that's pretty good. I thought you were gonna say, so I Ubered the fuck out of there. End of story. It was like, no, I emptied the 409 bottle. I like took their stove apart, pots and pans, wiped down the Keurig machine. That's pretty good, man. That's I gotta get hats off. Like that's pretty good. I would nominate you for sainthood there.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Uh,
Because man, like you have no idea the terror, like the sheer terror, like I felt like the moment like I saw that water just seeping from the ceiling and dripping down on the pots and
mm,
pans. And you know, just like man, like I do you ever like remember a time like of sheer panic and just like sheer desperation to just like fix a situation
oh
or
yeah.
anything like that? Like that's probably been like the most scared I've ever been, like in probably like maybe 5 years. Like I thought like I really fucked something up in her house.
Yeah.
And and but you know, I'm not up for sainthood because I didn't leave like any contact info. And yeah, so I, you know,
You
who
wanted to
knows,
say,
after this I might be getting a fat bill for some plumbing work from a random
yeah,
person in Houston. Oh my god.
saved in her phone as
So
Augustus Goop, the kid that got stuck in the chocolate milk factory tube.
yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man, way to bring it home, man. Way to bring it
Yeah.
home.
And
Nice,
so
nice.
but you know, I made my call time, you know, with like
Attaboy.
about 2 hours of sleep. And
Yeah,
so yeah,
price
we
is
had to
right.
drive to Galveston from Houston that day, and that was just like a miserable trip. And
Oh,
yeah,
oh man,
so
on an
but
empty stomach.
yeah, yeah, on an
Oh, uh-oh, you froze up. Mikey, you still there? I'm losing you, man.
yeah, it was yeah, it was just a miserable day afterward, but I had like a little story to tell that everyone got a kick out of, so I was pretty stoked about that.
That's great. Way to bring it home, man. Nice work on the poop story too. Bringing the heat. That's it for us.
Yeah.
Play us out, Shitty Ukulele.